In 1985, Imran Khan occupied the peak of global sporting dominance. As a fast bowler and captain, he commanded stadiums and intimidated opponents worldwide with his physical prowess. But behind closed doors, that immense public power meant nothing. He was watching his mother, Shaukat Khanum, succumb to terminal cancer, completely helpless to stop her immense pain. This stark, mid-century ward illustrates a grim medical reality. In a nation of nearly 100 million, there wasn't a single specialized cancer facility. For the wealthy, treatment meant traveling abroad, but for the poor, a diagnosis guaranteed death. True powerlessness is realizing that international fame offers zero protection when a broken national healthcare system fails the person who gave you life. When Shaukat Khanum passed away, the grief could have broken him. Instead, out of that total devastation, an immovable resolve took hold. Standing by his mother's memory, Khan made a highly specific, seemingly impossible vow to build a world-class cancer hospital right there in Pakistan and treat the poor completely free. The reaction from the establishment was immediate and brutal. Top medical experts, seasoned politicians, and wealthy businessmen openly laughed at the proposal. To them, this was the naive fever dream of an athlete. Khan had zero background in medicine, no understanding of healthcare economics, and no institutional backing to build a multi-million-dollar facility. But those elites made a critical miscalculation. They evaluated his lack of medical credentials and entirely underestimated his terrifying, stubborn willpower. Realizing the wealthy weren't going to fund his vision, Khan abandoned the cynical establishment. He took his campaign directly to the people. Looking at this densely packed streetscape, you can see the sheer scale of the public he had to mobilize. Khan turned his cricket stardom into a relentless, ground-level fundraising machine, moving block by block through these sprawling cities. He stood on the roofs of cars and walked into classrooms, holding out his hands for every single rupee. School children emptied their piggy banks. Poor mothers handed over their gold wedding bangles. These heavy, deeply personal sacrifices from the working class converted the project into a national movement. The physical foundation of this massive medical facility wouldn't be poured with institutional wealth. It would be built entirely on the collective financial sacrifice of a mobilized public. By the early 1990s, the heavy machinery was finally in the ground and construction had begun. But a new logistical crisis was emerging. This chart maps out the problem. The rising line tracks the exponential costs of pouring concrete and importing specialized medical equipment, violently outpacing the flattening line of grassroots donation revenue. As the cost line breaks violently through the revenue threshold into the red zone, the reality sets in. Ground-level charity has a mathematical ceiling, leaving the entire hospital project on the brink of total collapse. Khan realized that moving a few rupees at a time would no longer cut it. To bridge this massive financial gap and save the hospital, he needed to hijack an unprecedented global platform to reach overseas donors. The entirely logistical goal of building a hospital was now desperately tied to achieving something nearly impossible on the world's biggest sporting stage. That platform was the 1992 Cricket World Cup in Australia. It was the ultimate, perhaps the only, lifeline for the hospital's survival. Here is Khan in his vibrant 1992 jersey, a visual that merges his athletic and philanthropic identities perfectly. But look closer. He is a 39-year-old captain suffering from a chronic shoulder injury, tasked with leading a fractured underdog team. The international sports consensus was brutal. Pundits and bookmakers had completely written off Pakistan as a dysfunctional squad destined for early elimination. While the crowds focused on the scoreboard, Khan's internal ambition had outgrown the game. The true stakes of the 1992 World Cup were binary. If he wins the tournament, he commands the global microphone and the hospital gets built. If he loses, his mother's dream likely dies alongside his career. This high-wire pressure cooked up a specific psychological state, the cornered tiger. It's an entity that becomes most lethal when stripped of all alternative options and pushed to the absolute brink. That desperation pushed a broken, injured roster into a higher plane of performance. Pakistan mounted a violent momentum shift in the tournament. They clawed their way back from the brink of early elimination, launching an unstoppable surge toward the final match. Winning a trophy was secondary. The tournament had become a tool for a literal matter of life and death. Next time, we step inside that tense dressing room to break down the sheer willpower, the tactics, and the dramatic action of the 1992 final against all odds.